Hi there. So we're here this afternoon for a panel specifically to address how we are embracing linear and digital as a single audience and single advertising opportunity. I'm really thrilled to be moderating this panel with two illustrious panelists. We have Pat Kiley and Martin O'Boyle. And just to introduce myself first, I'm Cadi Jones. I'm the Commercial Director for Europe, Middle East and Africa at Beeswax. Beeswax provides programmatic buy-side technology. We partner with broadcasters, agencies and buyers to enable amazing advanced TV solutions. Pat, Martin, I'll leave you to introduce yourselves.
Hi, I'm Pat Kiley, Managing Director of Virgin Media Television. Virgin Media Television is Ireland's leading commercial broadcaster, probably the equivalent to ITV in terms of size and scale and share in the Irish market. Prior to that, I was Commercial Director of the business prior to Virgin Media's acquisition of the old TV3 business in Ireland. And prior to that, I worked in advertising agencies in Dublin and was Media Director of the major WPP agency in Ireland prior to the launch of TV3. I guess my background connected TV is both through the lens of running a broadcaster like Virgin Media Television Ireland, but also through our advertising developments and strategy, which has seen us partner with Sky in AdSmart across the UK and Ireland.
Great, Pat. Great to have you on the panel today. And Martin.
Hi, I'm Martin O'Boyle, and I'm Managing Director at Publicis Media Exchange, which is the trading and investment arm for Publicis Media in the UK, covering our agencies, including Starcom, Zenith and Spark Foundry. My background is media investment and data within media agencies. I've worked over 20 years within media agencies, starting as a TV buyer and then expanding my remit to cover all media, particularly including digital. More recently, I've worked more closely with our data partners and data providers in developing data solutions for our clients. And my current main focus is driving advanced TV and video solutions for our clients. So introducing greater automation and data-driven solutions into the world of TV and video and delivering that for our clients. So working very closely with Pat's counterparts in the UK at Channel 4, ITV, Sky and Google to develop products that work for our clients.
Well, I think it's great to have a panel today where we've got both the buy side and the sell side represented. So keep it clean, folks. So if I kick off with the first question, and maybe Martin, you can start by letting us know your thoughts first. But how soon do you think it will be before most ad buyers need broadcaster, VOD or OTT or addressable to top up the audiences they can reach cost effectively via broadcast linear?
So I think that we're almost there now, to be honest with you. So we've got, particularly from a UK point of view where I work, the reality is reach has been in decline across linear TV over the past few years, and impacts to younger audiences are also hugely in decline. We are still, in the UK, we're still seeing more older audiences maintaining the same level of viewing, but younger audiences are migrating quickly away from that TV screen. So I'd say we're here now. We need to utilise all aspects of that TV screen and all aspects of the video ecosystem if we're to capture that TV and video viewer. So no longer are you able to reach everybody through a standard linear campaign. One of our partnerships we have is with the media owner called Samsung TVs, who collects all the data on the TV screen, and they can then see, they've got a unique view into being able to see how much viewing has been done to linear TV, but also to over-the-top broadcaster VOD services, for example. And in Q3 2019, one of their stats is that 41% of all TV screens watch less than 2 hours of linear TV per month. So if you take that
Wow.
stats, it's quite powerful, I think. And we can always say that not everyone has a Samsung linear connected TV in the UK, but the reality is that this is a direction of travel. And when I started as a TV buyer 20 years ago, I was able to target 100% of viewing on that TV screen. Now I can only target 59% effectively through that linear TV campaign. Therefore, it's a must that we should use these broadcast AVOD, OTT or addressable solutions to top up that reach, because we're not going to get it through standard linear. And the direction of travel that you're seeing in the market is that media owners are quickly waking up to that, arguably a bit too slowly in the UK, but they're finally catching up in that area.
Kat, what are you seeing broadly? Is now the time?
Yeah, I very much so. Completely echo Martin's comments. Completely agree. I think your question was, how soon before ad buyers need this? We need it now. I think Martin's right. We've needed it probably before now. I think if broadcasters, particularly in this part of the world, were further down the track, I don't think you would have seen the rush to the frenzy of activity in the digital space that we've seen over the last certainly 3 to 4 years. I think we're interested to hear Martin say, it's down to as low as 2 hours, for some audiences in terms of linear TV. That's still an incredibly strong position for broadcasters to be in. But typically, any of the leakage, and that's certainly what we're seeing in Virgin Media Television, is disproportionately made up by the non-live viewing, time-shifted viewing, and BVOD viewing or on-demand viewing. So we've been lucky. I certainly feel we're ahead of the game in what we've done at Virgin Media Television in Ireland, because we do see ourselves as, your traditional broadcaster, but increasingly now creators of content that will distribute and disperse across many, many platforms and be consumed in many, many different ways. So no greater truism than content being king. And I think our ability to continue to have that powerful content, but serve it to viewers in a way that's increasingly accessible and therefore, not surprisingly, more diversified, but equally making that all of those various forms of distribution available to advertisers. I think the big challenge will be, the technology side, the currency side. But I think I would go back to my old job, and I think the basics of media planning fundamentals is very much there, which is, look, how can we follow the eyeballs? If we follow the eyeballs, the money will follow the eyeballs. And I think the industry is in great shape to take that next step. I think there's got to be some brave decisions. We're starting to see it in some of the collaborations and partnerships. But I think the realization is that the rush to digital was on the basis of habits that were forming that wasn't necessarily being met with the content. So, look, I think the TV screen has never been more popular. How can we now join up those various disparate elements of popular content and turn it into one single currency? I think that's the huge opportunity for the industry.
Right. I'd like to definitely. Please, Martin.
Sorry, I'd like to just add on to that. I mean, this is a great panel if we're always agreeing, but I actually do completely agree with Pat. If you look at the big digital streaming companies, they're in the battlefield for that TV screen, trying to maximise. I don't think TV as a medium has ever been stronger. I think there's a huge amount of structural issues that we're trying to unpick on both the buy side and the sell side, and I think that's the big challenge that we have at the moment.
That leads me very nicely into the next question I was going to ask, which is really around the barriers that we're experiencing in terms of using connected TV more widely for advertising, and how you think we can best overcome them. I think between you both, I've heard transparency. In the pre-call, we talked a bit about partnerships. Martin, you just brought up there some structural issues. So, what do you think those key barriers, and how can we move faster and move to overcome them? Pat, do you want to kick us off?
Well, I guess I mentioned that in the earlier piece, collaboration is a barrier. We have a very natural route to that, which is ownership. We've got Ireland's leading broadcaster and Ireland's leading connectivity business, Virgin Media, all in single ownership. And that, look, from a Liberty Global perspective, we're reasonably unique in that it's a unique case study that's in play in Ireland, but it has shown how we've kind of accelerated our ability to not be concerned about whether content gets served in the traditional linear schedule or on demand or gets picked up and time shifted, because wherever it gets picked up, it's been picked up under a Virgin Media television brand. So that certainly is one barrier that's been broken down through ownership. But collaboration, I think we've seen that coming through. I worked very closely with Jamie West at Sky on bringing together Virgin Media and Sky, to arch rivals, I guess, in the connectivity and TV platform space, but sensibly and brilliantly came together a couple of years ago, and we're starting to see the fruits of that, where in effect the TV platform industry is now largely joined up in its ability to provide single currency to the industry on AdSmart. And AdSmart, I think, it should be a great example of what happens when you bring together powerful collaborations and partnerships under one single currency.
I think partnerships are definitely key there. Martin, do you want to add something around the barriers that you're seeing brands facing?
So the reality from my point of view, from the buy side, is that if we look at what the consumer can do today, the consumer can get content when they want, where they want, on what device they want. So they've got ultimate capability, I believe, in terms of getting content and access to the content. That is not reflected yet today. Now, there are some initiatives that are happening within the market, but it's not yet reflected wholly within the advertising side of things. So the reality is that the lifeblood of media campaigns for many years has been that TV campaign, where a lot of investment was made into the TV ad spots and a lot of investment made into the media buy. And we knew that we were able to reach a certain amount of people for a certain amount of investment. That was a sort of base for a lot of advertising campaigns. As we mentioned before, we're seeing that being eroded somewhat in terms of consumers moving to other parts of the TV screen, moving to other parts of the digital and video ecosystem. And what that's brought to us is a lot of complexity. So it's, boiled down, it's actually a lot more difficult to actually buy everybody who watches that TV screen nowadays and actually connect them up. So deduplicated reach across TV, over-the-top connected TV suppliers, broadcast video, YouTube. There is no one currency that covers all of those, and more importantly, currency is a trading term, but there's no one data set that actually can tell us what we're getting for our money. We have to apply modelling to try and fix that and to make sure that we get the best guess as to the reach we've got there. So that's a huge barrier. That complexity is a sort of barrier to entry. The other thing is, outside of, and I'm talking from a UK point of view, outside of the broadcasters and YouTube, is that there isn't a huge amount of scalable inventory beyond that. So there's a lot of hype within the connected TV world, and it's taken a while for other providers to sort of get up to speed within the UK. We're starting to see that now, and I do think over the next couple of years, we're going to see more and more of these players moving into the market, challenging those traditional norms, and actually providing a product that's exciting as the hype has been over the last few years. We're at a point in time now where we've got an explosion of streaming services, and that's inevitably going to lead to a more mature advertiser VOD products amongst those non-broadcast suppliers and YouTube. And I think that's going to be the tipping point. So we could talk about the year of connected TV and whether that was last year or next year. I just think this moment in time is a big moment in time for the TV market. And the challenge is actually to connect all of that and make it as effective as possible for advertisers so they can get the most effective campaigns.
Yeah, I think you make some really good points there. I'd like us just to dig into the first sort of obstacle that you mentioned in a bit more detail, really around how do we help brands to manage that multi-platform reach? Pat, is that something you can speak to? Like, how are you and how are you seeing other broadcasters helping an advertiser to sort of manage frequency across all screens to get to that deduplicated multi-platform reach?
Yeah, look, it's again, I go back to some of my old jobs and think the age-old principle of advertising. We know half it works. Do we know which half? So minimizing wastage, all of that has wastage been good for broadcasters? Have traditional broadcasters got too used to, probably, doing well out of that principle of there being an accepted level of wastage. So minimizing wastage, I think, is key. Being a lot more focused. We believe, certainly in our model, that creates more opportunity, and it is part of our what we would call our digital fight back to bring a lot of that lost share of total revenue that's gone to the FANG operators, if you like, in the last number of years. The way Martin has said it's hard to get away from single currency, and maybe that's a bit of a catch-all. For us, it's probably around the merging of the technology. We would see the set-top box now being, if we talk about the popularity of TV, if telly has never been so popular, we know that part of that has been the add-ons, the set-top box, the various boxes and gizmos you can connect up to your TV. They will have to merge. None of us want 10 different things plugged into our television, a dongle on one side, an Apple on the box on the other side, a Sky or Virgin set-top box underneath. The merging of that technology, I think, will be a big part of it. So at Liberty Global, Virgin Media, we've partnered with Netflix. So you get your Netflix through your Virgin set-top box. So I think in terms of strategically, we're bringing the technology together into the set-top box, and then the issue is what currencies can we take out of the set-top box. Far too slow, I would say. I'd agree with Martin, but for the last number of years, I know in the UK, Barb, AdSmart and Barb have tried to work more closely together. Certainly in Ireland, we're trying to do the same with Nielsen. I think it's only a matter of time where when you have, in the case of Ireland, hundreds and thousands, in the case of the UK, millions of set-top boxes that have all of this information, and yet most money spent on television is still through your traditional sample of, probably, a relatively very small number of boxes. So it's that currency, how we can catch up. I think the research industry, the research side of the media industry, really needs to catch up with the consolidation of the technology to be able to then provide that single source currency where you can track communication across all the various different platforms and channels.
Cool. And I think we're starting to see that now. I think as we've all mentioned, it's probably been a bit too slow, but you've got the likes of C-Flight coming from the US into the UK, giving one view across all of Sky's inventory, which could be rolled out to the other broadcasters. But also you've got the WFA, the World Federation of Advertisers, working to drive globally a cross-media measurement approach and data source for all media, so to speak. So that would include the likes of Google and Facebook, but also broadcasters and key digital suppliers as well. So all of these are really, really exciting, and all of these are getting steps to get us closer to that holy grail of actually knowing which 50% works and which 50% doesn't work. It's very complex and very difficult, but I think we are starting to get there. I think what I would encourage advertisers and partners to do is to be more open to working with bigger and more robust data sources. So the likes of Sky in the UK or Samsung TVs or Samba TV. This can help us get to a more accurate view of what's actually being consumed, one on that TV screen, but over time across multiple platforms.
Yeah, completely agree. You have to ask yourself who's winning and who's losing by this, with the lack of pace in this coming together. And I think certainly looking through a traditional lens of the TV industry, we shouldn't be surprised with the loss to the assumption that search is driving sales, when in fact nobody's quite managed to square the circle on the fact that what's sending potential customers to search for particular brands is typically powerful TV advertising. So closing that circle is a huge challenge for the TV industry to demonstrate that it's, that the end sale has been triggered typically by a broadcast communication rather than necessarily the narrowcast element or the final search. So joining up that chain, I think, will be key for advertisers and therefore key for broadcasters, because I think they probably aren't getting a quarter of the credit they deserve for the contribution that they're making into those kind of final sales counts that Google and the like would lay claim on.
This is really fascinating. I want to dive into this a little bit more here. So, if that's the ultimate goal, what would you say is the lowest hanging fruit if marketers want to combine their digital and their linear TV more effectively? I mean, is it identifying linear homes exposed to ads and then retargeting them in digital environments, or what do you see as the easiest opportunity there?
So I think, I think actually what you said there is a very great tactic to start applying now, because we already know that people are watching less linear TV than they used to. And I've mentioned using bigger, better data sets to help us identify that. As I say, being open to working with these data sets to not only find the people who are watching light linear, so to speak, or who are heavy digital, but also try and find new and different audiences that already existing, already watching TV, but targeting the right audiences at the right time to reduce and minimise wastage. So, as I say, the likes of Sky, Samsung TV or Samba can help to source those and target audiences that are closer to the strategic goal rather than the market-dictated audiences that are supplied by the likes of Barb in the UK, which are basically age, sex, demographic-based data, which is great, but they're based on quite a small panel of viewing and hardly robust if you want to drive down into a more bespoke audience. So I think there's a huge opportunity there, not only to extend the reach through tactics such as targeting light viewers of TV and digital, but also finding those elusive audiences who are really important to certain clients. And then that's a huge opportunity for the industry as a whole, for buy side, sell side and advertisers.
Yeah, I completely agree. Something we would call in our business the foot in both camps approach. At the moment, I think Martin will probably agree, television is being bought to drive brand, digital is being bought to, drive end sales or drive search or, the end kind of retail objective. If we, and we believe we're already doing this at Virgin Media Television, bringing both broadcast and narrowcast together in a single buy, I think that's where the low-hanging fruit is. The big FMCGs, I've said before, I believe could be the greatest source of this powerful fight back from the linear, if you like, TV industry set against the losses to digital. The opportunity where you can combine viewing behavior with consumption behavior, where you have a platform and a broadcaster in the same camp that can, obviously under all the rules and regulations and GDPR, etc., but be in a position to be able to track both and to be able to serve different messages. We've got what we would call addressable advertising 1.0 in Virgin at the moment, where we're already fixing this problem of how do you send out a mass reach communication that actually offers new customers, delivers a different message to potential new customers to a business versus a retention message to existing customers. Well, we've been able to do that by just sending a different feed to the Virgin platform than all other platforms, and immediately that allows us to talk to Virgin customers in a different way. We're calling that Addressable 1.0 because it is but scratching the surface of what the potential is. And why would you not be in a position for, say, a Procter & Gamble to have the wonderful brand message of Pampers being the best nappy available, through to actually talking to the particular home that is in the purchasing mode at that particular time and serving them a very particular retail-based offer, which again, would have been typically communication that would have been just lost to other sectors.
That's really fascinating. So if we take that one step further and we move on from simply serving the right, I say simply, but from getting the right ad in front of the right audience, how are media owners then helping? One of the other points Martin's raised is around then tracking activities through to business outcomes to better understand wastage and getting driving more efficiency there. How can media owners link business outcomes, whether that's website traffic or sales, to ad exposure in a near real-time way? Is there an opportunity to optimize insight campaigns against attribution data?
The straight answer to start with is it's not. The industry is not. I think that's what Martin said earlier. We're I think way behind in this space. That AdSmart plays a part, I think, in helping us kind of move a little bit more quickly towards finding some more direct correlation between end sales. So I think there's a lot more to be done. We're looking at a number of case studies, a number of opportunities that we've seen in other markets. I know, the guys down in Australia with Agile have had some success in where they've managed to drive a link between brand advertising or mass reach advertising and that end search on Google. Again, I go back to the basic fundamentals. When at the point at which somebody searches for a particular brand or a particular store or a particular service, have they searched, I need a item of clothing, or I need to take a holiday to this particular destination, or have they gone straight to Google to search that particular brand? If, as is the case, is typically the latter, well, what has sent them there in the first place? And I think that's the challenge that we're just behind in how we can get that link between what has sent them to the search bar and what has prompted them to key in that particular brand. Agile looks like a good opportunity. I know there's a few others out there. We're certainly trying to accelerate our work in getting that link. And I said what I said earlier, maybe there's resistance in some parts where, maybe those who are less likely to support an acceleration in this area are those who are probably doing very well out of the fact that, currently the attribution is at the point of search, and therefore the search engine is getting most of the value. Martin, is there anything you're seeing in this space that's really helping?
So, I think, again, this is the Holy Grail, what we're trying to get to, which is effectively optimize on that conversion. And I think we need two things for that. We need decent data sets that measure the viewing, for one thing. So hence I've been banging on about big data sets within TV. I think that's when they can really come into their own, but also finding the relevant GDPR compliant conversion data that allows us to do that and getting that at the cadence. So that's not a small undertaking to try and do that. I think the reality is a lot of the case studies that we've seen don't tend to be in flight. They tend to be right at the end of the campaign. And I think we need to be able to get to that more quicker and more scalable and at a greater cadence. But the other side of it is that's not going to happen unless we have the media products to enable us to do that. So I think Pat's addressable 1.0 that's happening in Ireland at the moment is a really good step, and I'd like to see more of that in the UK. We've obviously got AdSmart in the UK with Sky and Channel 4 coming on next year, that AdSmart piece. Targeting the right audiences and then really understanding how they're converting is a huge opportunity. And I think it's something that we all need to work together, because I think TV at the moment really is seen much more as a branding platform as opposed to a performance-based platform. But to Pat's point, TV is probably driving quite a lot of the search activity that's out there, just not getting the credit. So I think we need the one thing I think we need to solve with all of this, we won't solve it today, but it's greater collaboration with all partners across the industry. It's not any one partner's responsibility. Within the UK, it's the big media owners working together, but also with advertisers and agencies to help to produce products and solutions that actually work for advertisers, because that in the end they're the sort of key player in here. We need to make sure it works for them.
Yeah, well, I think that's a brilliant point on that we should on which to end this brilliant panel. That need for collaboration, because that's something that we can all take away and work towards together. I'd like to thank you both. I'd like to thank for the people dialed into this. I'd like to thank our brilliant panelists. So Pat Kiley of Virgin Media Television Ireland, Martin O'Boyle of Publicis Media Exchange, the Publicis Group, and yeah, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Cadi.